Women are leading right now in civic spaces, sports, arts, and business in our communities. This is the return of Women on the Rise. This episode is about leadership, impact, and what happens when women are positioned to lead. Welcome to Conversations with Katie Hall. Join us as we shine a spotlight on compelling conversations with leaders from Washington State and beyond. This is Conversations with Katie Hall. Angela Poe Russell is a veteran journalist, playwright, and cultural leader whose work elevates truth, history, and women's voices. From the newsroom to the stage, she shows us how storytelling itself is a form of leadership and why this moment for women in the arts really matters. Go ahead and join us. We're about to go over to the Museum of Flight and talk with Angela right now. I'm so excited to talk with you, sincerely, and so proud of you, Angela.
Thank you.
I mean, sincerely, veteran journalist, wife, mother, artist. I mean, you can do so many different things.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about why did you choose to tell this story in this way?
Ooh, at the end of the day, Bessie inspired me. And I was really frustrated that more people didn't know who she was. To be honest with you, when I first heard about her, I felt like I'd been cheated. And so I wanted to make it right. And because I said, wow, if I was a little girl and heard her story, what would I be capable of? Because when I read about her, I just thought we can do anything. And so I just thought this is a story we need to highlight, we need to tell. And I just have to share this. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Yes, please.
So I remember as part of my research, being a journalist, got to do the research, right? So I visited the National Air and Space Museum and the African American Museum in DC. And I left there in tears, the Air and Space Museum, because I'm walking around each floor and I can't find Bessie Coleman. And I was like, wait 1 minute. I was like, she was before Amelia. What she overcame was remarkable. And I couldn't find her anywhere. And I kept asking employees, I'm like, where is Bessie Coleman? They didn't even know who she was.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
And so with the play, talk to us about what do you think people are going to take away from this play, or what do you want them to take away from the play?
I hope they leave feeling hopeful. And I hope that they take away that whatever is going on in the world, whatever is going on with you personally, that with courage and with community, you can get through it. We've been through hard times before, and there's a path. And Bessie showed us what it was like to get through hard times. So let's just take us back to 1920, when women weren't allowed to go to flight school. You weren't allowed to learn how to fly. There were men who would try to sabotage the planes of women who were trying to fly, okay? Now, add in, she's Black and Native. You definitely don't want you flying. So she found a way. And so this story is kind of showing you the way.
Talk to us a little bit about being the playwright of Aviatrix. And of course, we want girls to see it and we want our Black girls to see it. But what's the value of everyone being able to see this play?
Because I think everyone can relate to feeling like you want to live life on your own terms. And sometimes circumstances or systems keep you from doing that. We've all faced obstacles. We've all faced barriers. So how do you get through them? And so I don't care what color you are, what gender you are, what your background is. It's a universal theme that we all can relate to and learn from.
And so what can we expect on March 14th?
Ooh, so March 14th, Black Voices Matter. You know, a lot of people, they'll look at me and they're like, okay, you spent this many years as a journalist and then you wrote a movie and now you're doing a screenplay. At the end of the day, it's story. Yes. So during Black Voices Matter, we're going to talk about that journey from doing journalism, being in a newsroom, to actually taking something to a stage and doing a musical. So we'll talk about that, but you'll also get an exclusive preview of the musical. We're going to have, the musical runs May 15th through June 7th. And so the preview that we're doing on March 14th, you'll get to hear a few of the songs from some of the actors. We have not announced the cast yet, and I don't know if we're going to announce them yet in March either, but you'll get to meet a few of them. We have, oh my gosh, an amazing cast. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Of course, I'll be at March 14th with you, but I will make sure that me and my daughters are at the Seattle Theater.
Oh yeah, Seattle Public Theater. Public Theater. It's in Green Lake, and we're just I'm just excited to see what happens. I have to tell you, I mean, I've done a lot of different things in life, but sometimes you have those moments where you just know you're supposed to do something, and that's how I felt about this show. I felt like we have to tell this story. Like, more people need to know who she is. They need to know how she got from A to Z, and take away from that they can do it too.
Absolutely. And Angela, as you talk about that, and you talk about we all go through different things. You said that a little bit earlier. What was one of the biggest pivots that you've made in your career, and how has arts helped you through that?
The biggest pivot I made was leaving news. I was the evening anchor at Cairo 7. And I was working with Steve Rabel. I had a really good job, a really great position. I was anchoring the 5, 6, and the 11. Life was perfect.
You were that girl.
Yes, life was perfect, right?
Yes.
But I felt like there was something more. And I wanted to connect with people in a different way. When you are doing news, you have to, we all have biases, but we have to put those biases aside and report the facts. And also, we were telling stories that were heartbreaking. And I wanted to tell a different type of story. I wanted to find new ways to reach people. So with no job and just money that I saved, I left and I worked on a movie.
It's like, seriously. And so, Angela, what inspiration do you want to leave with our viewers about your version of walking on wings?
Don't let people define you. Don't let people put you in a box. I mean, I thought I was going to music school back when I was 18. I got accepted to music school and then felt this call to do journalism. And I was rejected, by the way, from journalism school. And it was community that got me in.
Okay, so Angela, as we're sitting here at the beautiful Museum of Flight, and we're sitting in front of this wonderful plane, what is the significance of this for you?
I really wanted to be here because the Museum of Flight just reminds you of what's possible when we dream, the innovation that's there. And to be able to have a plane similar to what Bessie flew, it takes me back and it makes me think about what's possible in the future. Bessie flew a plane like this. She parachuted from planes like this, and she walked on the wings of planes like this. They called her Brave Bessie. Brave is an understatement. I'm sure her family was like, "You crazy."
And that's why we're in the courage room.
Yeah. When we hear someone's story, it gives us the ability to dream, to empathize, to imagine, to grow as a human being. And so we should always be telling new stories. So shout out to Seattle Public Theater for saying, hey, let's tell this new story. They are so excited about bringing Bessie to life.
And that's amazing. Seattle Public Theater, let's give a shout out to them as well as the Museum of Flight.
Yeah.
And Angela, it means the world to me that you're here with me on the opening of season 2 of Conversations with Katie Hall. I thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you at the play and seeing you at the 3 weeks worth of playwriting from May 15th through June 7th. Is there anything else you want to let the people know?
No, just get to know Bessie. I don't care, what your background is. I think if you come and see this show, you will leave inspired and in your own life, just thinking about what could I do? What is possible for me? And I hope that's what people take away.
Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson is a public servant, leader, and mother navigating leadership with purpose and humanity. She joins us to talk about what leadership really looks like beyond politics and the future she hopes to help build for Seattle. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and join her at the Black Media Matters studio. Mayor Katie Wilson, thank you so much for joining me on Conversations with Katie Hall. Welcome to office as our mayor of the beautiful city of Seattle. And thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mayor Wilson, talk to us a little bit about your historic campaign and you now being our mayor of Seattle. Like, what was that like for you going from like a whole year ago when you first started campaigning into when you got that victory?
It's been quite the year, and it hasn't even been a year since I first thought of running for office. So if you told me a year ago that I would be the mayor right now, I would have been very surprised. Yeah, I'm just really, being an elected official has just not been an ambition of mine, right? I've been a community organizer for a very long time, and so that work has always been about how do we build collective power and push decision makers, push elected officials from the outside. And so, it was a very quick process for me just deciding, there's this opportunity. Seattle's looking for a new kind of leadership. just recognizing the affordability crisis that so many people in our city are facing and deciding that running for mayor was the right thing to do. And so, yeah, the campaign was a whirlwind. I've never been that much kind of in the public eye and scrutinized and all of the things that come with being a candidate. But it was such an inspiring experience in so many ways. And I mean, one of the things that was really amazing about it was young people getting involved in politics and being excited about the campaign. And I got to tell you, as someone who's like not a social media person in my personal life, suddenly having like people stop me on the street and want to do selfies, and I just never contemplated being someone that was popular with young people. But it's very just very heartening. I just think it really is. Just such an important tool right now to reach people who might not read the Seattle Times or kind of connect in that more traditional media sphere, and especially young people. And it just provides this really, I think people are looking for a sense that their elected leaders are people too, right? That's not hard for me. I am just kind of a regular person who decided to run for office. And I think social media really provides a very direct way to speak to people and I like the phrase governing out loud, and that's what I'm going to really try to do in office, where we're really explaining, like, here's the challenges that we're facing, here are the problems, and here's what we're doing. Try to really give people a window into how the city government works and also ways to participate, right? And again, coming from my background as a community organizer, I really appreciate how the big ambitious things that we want to do take that power building from the outside. And so I really want to govern in a way that creates the space for that and allows people to use their voice and to find their power, their collective power. And I think that social media is a really big part of that and a part of being able to explain what we're doing. And also, the obstacles, right? Because the fact is that, wanting to make Seattle a place that's affordable for families and for young people, like that's a tall order these days, right? We have historic levels of income and wealth inequality, right. And we have, soaring rents and all of the long-standing inequities and issues. Yeah. And so I think that we can make really substantial progress, and yet we also know that we're going to fall short of fixing everything, right? And so being able to really explain that and bring people in so that we all feel like we're in this together, I think social media is a big part of how we can do that.
I totally agree with you. And the community organizing, talk to us a little bit about that, because, community organizers, that's a huge form of leadership. So talk to us about, like, how did you leverage your community organizing in leading this victory, right? This victorious campaign where you won. And so how did you leverage your community organizing to get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different kinds of leadership, right? And the kind of leadership that that really has been a part of my career has been about that collective power building, right? And the kind of leadership where you're like, well, as an individual, it's so easy to feel powerless, because in a lot of ways you are powerless, right? And yet when we come together, whether that's workers organizing in the workplace, or renters fighting for stronger renter protections, or transit riders fighting for better public transit, we find our power when we come together and are able to kind of use that collective power. And so through that work over the years, I built just a lot of relationships and big network of both individuals and organizations that had worked with me and trusted me and kind of knew what I was about. And so was able to kind of mobilize that network in the context of the campaign. And that really got us off to a strong start. And, for example, we participated in the Democracy Voucher Program, which is our really cool public financing of elections, kind of program in Seattle, and was able to just qualify like that because I, had such a network of people who were like, yes, I'll, donate $10 to qualify you for this program. And so there was really this grassroots swell, which was partly based on the work that I had, done and that been part of over the years. And then also just the moment that we're in, I think there was a real hunger for a grassroots campaign and that kind of message.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mayor Katie Wilson, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. Congratulations on your victory, and so looking forward to what you're going to do over the next 4 years. And the affordable housing, I think that a lot of us want to see what happens there. Yes. And we want to know, where do we lean in? How do we help? What do we do? Because the housing
market is it's out of control. It's totally out of control, and it's not affordable.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank you for making that one of your missions, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Talk to us a little bit about why is the Kraken so important to the continued narrative of sports in Seattle?
Yeah, and we're pleased to join. We're not pleased. We're honored, really humbled to join a sports community that has always given back. And my CEO, Todd Lewicki, was the CEO of the Seahawks at one point, and so he always has been focused on giving back to this community. And really, it's an ethos that spans across all the teams, the different causes they invest in, the different partnerships they form. It is a shared and very authentic commitment to giving back. And so we're happy to join the ranks when our leadership and ownership 8 or so years ago now made the decision to make the very substantial private investment to bring the NHL back. We hope someday bring the NBA back and to rebuild the dilapidated city building that music shows everyone wanted to come to, and so to create Climate Pledge Arena. That was all part of it. But it was really grounded in something bigger than that, and that was to make a positive and lasting impact in our community. And like I said, that really comes from our leadership and our ownership. And so that's been our guide from the very beginning. And I think my being hired within the first 20 employees is evidence of the priority.
Absolutely. You all were marketing before the team started, but marketing is it was the pandemic, I want to say, that happened. And so you all really took, in my opinion, a world stage, because we all were looking at digital, and you were doing so much marketing. You took a big stance in that time. What I want to know is, what is leadership like for women in sports in Seattle? Because it's different in Seattle than other places.
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to every team, but I certainly know leaders at every team. And like I said, I think we just have a very special sports community here where it's a positive culture within the different sports organizations. They're all a little different, it's different organization to organization and certainly league to league. But I feel like with how women's sports overall just took center stage of late, it has helped advance women leadership in sports, not just in women's sports, but in men's sports as well. And you see more and more women assuming key leadership positions in various organizations. Speaking for the Kraken, we have a woman owner, which is rare. I don't know if it's unique, but it certainly is rare. We hired the first female pro scout in the history of the NHL, the first female assistant coach in the history of the NHL. And I have the privilege of working with a team of just really talented and brilliant female executives every day, who I consider not just colleagues, but friends and co-collaborators. So you say, what's it like? I think it's fun, and it's meaningful to be part of this industry as it's evolving like it is, which I think will only build stronger leagues and stronger teams and stronger communities.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, having the first, like I said, female assistant coach, so for you all to be so new into hockey, you're such a trendsetter, and you're so ahead of your time. What made you all look for?
I'm just going to hang out.
Yeah, right. Wow, you just jumping ahead.
And I saved the arts too, in case you don't.
I know. She saved the arts. So, where did that come from? It's amazing, right? It's so great for my daughters, 11 almost and 8, to see a woman in hockey as a coach. It's leadership.
Yeah.
So, where did that decision come from? And talk to us about what made you guys make that decision.
Yeah, and I had no personal role in that, but I will just say that our organization looks for talent. And to hire the best, you have to look at the entire pool of qualified candidates and not just the pool of candidates that everybody's always looked from or everybody knows. And I think once you look beyond that and kind of shed the status quo or the outdated thinking, there's just way more opportunities to bring on talent. So I would say what drove it was we wanted the best we could get, and that's what's driven all of our hires.
And you spoke about something. You spoke about having an amazing team of executive leaders that are women. And so when we think about the other work you have done before working for the Kraken in arts, and so what are some of those correlations you see between women and leadership positions in arts or corporate and in sports?
I think just women across the corporate world, well, not just the corporate world, it's in politics, it's in civic leadership. And it's not just women, it's more about inclusive and welcoming and diverse organizational cultures, whatever that is. And the studies after study after study shows that if you are more diverse, gender-wise, if you are more racially diverse, you're just going to perform better. You're going to be more innovative. You have better retention rates. You are more productive. You have a stronger bottom line. So for every reason, it makes sense to be more inclusive. But it's easier said than done, and it takes authentic intention and commitment to actually make it happen. I think in our case at the Kraken, because we're newer, it in some ways is easier because we were starting later in the game. We're starting when we could learn from things like,
You're like Netflix compared to Blockbuster.
Okay, well, there we
I
go.
like it.
Netflix, yeah, but you know what I mean? We weren't burdened by outdated thinking as much, so we could do this more easily.
Beth Knox is a leader driving the growth and recognition of sports as culture, community, and opportunity in Seattle. Her work continues to open doors for women and girls on the field, behind the scenes, and in leadership. Join us at the Black Media Matter studio as we talk more to Beth Knox. Beth Knox is a leader driving the growth and recognition of sports as culture, community, and opportunity in Washington State. Her work continues to open doors for women and girls on the field, behind the scenes, and in leadership in general. Beth Knox, thank you so much for joining us today on Conversations with Katie Hall to talk all things sports. How are you?
I am great. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, Katie.
You too, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about what's happening with the Sports Commission and what do you want people to know about the Sports Commission in Washington State and why is it so important?
Well, I think the Sports Commission, first of all, we have two primary purposes. One is to support our sports community here, and the other is to partner with the sports venues, sports teams, and the city of Seattle to bid on sporting events that we want to host in our region. Events like the MLB All-Star Game or the FIFA World Cup. So those are our two primary purposes, but I think what I would say is so important about the Sports Commission is that it is a voice that amplifies the stories of the sports achievements, the sporting events that happen here, the things behind the scenes, the youth that are competing in sports, the women that are competing in sports, lifting up all of those stories and amplifying them to give them a spotlight in our region. I think that's a really important role for us.
I'm so happy that you're doing this interview with us on the return of the Women on the Rise because you are 100% a woman on the rise on what you're doing in our state. And it's important for not just our girls to see this, but also our boys and
Right.
all of our young people.
Absolutely.
All of our young people. I know you have sons and it's important that they see you lead as much as it is that my daughters see you lead.
100%. And it's truly an honor to be here, Katie. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. That was Mrs. Beth Knox. If you do not know Beth Knox, you know her now. She is incredible in our state in leading in sports. And sports is fun. Sports is part of our communities. And sports is a lot of times how we find similar communities, even with people who we don't know, or maybe we don't have things in common with. So continue to join us for more conversations on Katie Hall with the return of Women on the Rise. When women rise, communities move. Thank you for being part of this conversation. This is Conversations with Katie Hall.